You carry a pulse inside you that refuses to match the rhythm of the world around you. This isn't a coincidence. It's the quiet signal that your life was never meant to run on the same track as everyone else's. There's a shift in motion, subtle yet unstoppable, and it's aligning to lift you out of the noise and into a place where your true nature is no longer hidden. It's not about escaping, it's about unveiling. When the moment comes, it won't be gentle background change. It will be a sudden clarity that shows exactly why your journey has felt different all along. For those who can feel this tug in their spirit right now, this isn't just another encouraging word. It's a coded invitation into a higher space, a reminder that your story is stepping into its defining chapter. Not everyone will sense it. Not everyone will stay for the unfolding, and that's how it's meant to be. Those who do will see not just where they're going, but who they've always been. Some lives are designed to outgrow the maps everyone else follows. The route feels strange to others because it was never meant to fit their idea of a journey. There comes a moment when the familiar ground beneath your feet feels too small, too shallow for the weight of who you've become. This shift isn't a collapse, it's a silent transfer. One moment you're standing in the old rhythm, the next you've stepped into a space that can hold the fullness of what you carry. It's not noise or spectacle that marks the change, but an almost imperceptible precision, like a door closing behind you while no one notices it was ever opened. If you've been touched by God's goodness, don't keep it to yourself. Click Super Thank You and sow a gift of $20 or more to help spread His light. Your giving becomes a ripple of grace, blessing hearts and building His kingdom. Let His overflow pour through you. This is not an exile. It's a refinement. Your life refuses to be patterned by the routines that keep others satisfied. You've endured trials that could have hollowed you out, yet instead they carved room for wisdom, patience, and compassion to live in you. Your strength wasn't built under spotlights. It was forged in uncelebrated seasons, where only unseen hands held you up. There's a weight to your presence now, a quiet authority that walks into a room before you do. People sense it, even if they can't name it. Yet familiarity has made some overlook the depth in you. They've mistaken proximity for understanding, as if seeing parts of your process gave them permission to define your entire purpose. But the atmosphere is shifting. You're being lifted, not always in the physical sense, but in your inner life, your relationships, even the places you call home. You will no longer stand where they last measured you. Their voices will echo in rooms you've already outgrown. Their expectations will reach for a version of you that no longer exists. When they search for you in the old patterns, they'll meet emptiness. When they try to pull you back into worn-out cycles, they'll find you have no appetite for them. What's happening isn't retreat. It's the unfolding of a breakthrough that changes your location in ways the natural world can't trace. You've shifted into a higher rhythm, one that doesn't need their recognition to be real. There are moments when the act of being moved is not a retreat, but a declaration. A shift can speak louder than a lifetime of explanations, and when it happens, it becomes the very proof that your path was never meant to blend with the crowd. This isn't an escape, it's a signature move, the kind that rewrites how others will remember you. You're not here by chance. Feel the pull. Tap join to unlock truth, purpose, and a tribe that gets it. This is more than a membership, it's your calling. It's not simply about being taken from one place to another. It's about being positioned in a way that makes the unseen undeniable. You've walked through years of preparation, each season layering your spirit with resilience no one else could measure. The transfer that's coming isn't a surprise to heaven. It's been in motion for longer than you realize. This kind of removal is an unveiling. It's the instant when the weight you've carried internally becomes visible to those who could never name it before. You've been marked for a stage that requires your absence from the one you've been standing on. The shift is evidence, not accident. For too long, You've been observed through a limited frame. People assumed they had your dimensions figured out because they saw fragments of your process. They never realized the blueprint was bigger than the room they met you in. The change ahead will break their measurements entirely. Every quiet choice, every unspoken decision to walk away from noise, every moment you traded proving a point for protecting your peace, it all built to this. Those decisions looked invisible to outsiders, but they were the foundation for the move you're about to make. You're not stepping away because you've run out of strength. You're stepping up because the assignment that held you here has reached its closing chapter. You've poured what you carried into spaces that didn't even recognize it as treasure, and now it's time to take that light elsewhere. When the transition happens, it will be felt more than seen. Those who've grown used to your presence will suddenly sense a gap they can't fill. Their routines will be missing the subtle weight you once brought without trying. That absence will speak volumes. This won't be a storm of announcements or explanations. The silence will carry the message. And for many, the realization will come too late. They'll understand the value of what was among them only after it's gone. Your shift will not just be physical. It will echo in your relationships, your inner world, your positioning in life. People will search for the older version of you, not realizing that version has already dissolved into something greater. In that moment, your true identity will begin to surface in ways even you couldn't fully articulate before. Not because you've changed into someone new, but because the environment around you can finally no longer blur who you are. The same individuals who later. Your departure is not an erasure. It's the unveiling of the layers that were always there, but carefully kept from casual eyes. It's the turning of a page in which your role expands beyond the limits of their understanding. You won't need to argue your worth. The shift will argue for you. The atmosphere will carry the announcement without you uttering a word. And as the move settles, you'll find that you no longer crave the spaces you've left behind. What once felt like safety will now seem like confinement, and you'll understand why the change had to happen exactly when it did. This is the moment where removal becomes revelation, where absence becomes the loudest presence, and where the quiet endurance of your past seasons becomes the visible evidence of why you were never meant to stay where you were. There comes a season when the ground you've been standing on no longer has the capacity to hold the roots you've grown. The air starts to feel thinner, the walls closer, and something in you knows it's not because you've outworn the place. It's because you've expanded beyond it. The removal you're stepping into is not random. It's the visible proof of an invisible graduation. For years, you've carried weight in silence. You've walked through days that could have broken softer spirits, and instead, they built steel into your core. You've learned to navigate spaces that didn't understand your depth without shrinking it to fit their comfort. That kind of endurance doesn't go unnoticed in the unseen realm. This moment is the unveiling of what has been cultivated in private. People often think revelation comes with grand announcements and loud signs, but sometimes it comes as a door quietly closing behind you while no one notices until they can't find you anymore. That's the kind of shift that's happening now. Those who underestimated, you will have to watch from a distance as the layers of your purpose start to unfold. They'll replay their last conversations with you, realizing they never truly saw you clearly. They were speaking to a fraction of the fullness you carried, and now they'll see that fraction was only the beginning. Every time you chose the high road instead of proving your point, every time you walked away from chaos without explaining yourself, every time you stayed aligned when compromise was easier, you were stacking invisible evidence for this exact moment. Now it will be undeniable. The move you're making isn't fueled by frustration, and it's not the result of failure. It's the natural outcome of completing an assignment. You've poured yourself into rooms that couldn't name the gift they were receiving, And now that gift is being taken to where it will be recognized for what it is. When you're gone, the absence will feel like missing gravity, subtle but impossible to ignore. Conversations will sound different without your presence. The flow of things will change without your unseen influence holding it together. People will feel the shift even if they can't explain it. This won't just be a change of scenery. It will be a recalibration of your entire atmosphere. Your relationships will look different. Your daily rhythm will be restructured. Even your inner thoughts will move in a higher pattern because you're not just relocating, you're ascending. The most powerful part is that you won't need to announce any of it. The transformation will speak louder than words. Those who thought they had you figured out will be left trying to piece together how they missed the signs. And while some will feel the sting of realizing they misjudged you, you'll walk into this new space without resentment, because you'll understand that if they could have recognized you earlier, they would have. But your purpose required them not to. Your removal is not an ending, it's an entrance. It's the reveal of the fact that you were never built to stay in the structures that tried to contain you. This is God pulling back the curtain, not for applause, but for alignment. From this point on, the world will not see you the way it did before. The old labels will no longer fit. The old rooms will no longer call you back. And the old cycles will no longer have a hold on you. You've crossed a threshold, and nothing in you will ever be small enough to return. And when the shift is complete, you'll realize it was never about leaving people behind. It was about stepping fully into the version of yourself that could no longer survive in the shadow of who you used to be. This is the season where the quiet one becomes the undeniable one, and your absence becomes the loudest truth you've ever spoken. Some paths are designed to narrow the further you walk them. The higher the climb, the fewer the footsteps beside yours. This isn't a rejection. It's the natural separation that happens when your direction demands a different pace, a different stamina, and a different vision than those around you are willing or able to carry. The next stretch of your journey doesn't need an audience, and it doesn't require permission. What's ahead will unfold quietly, without the need for announcements or ceremonial goodbyes. The shift will happen in silence, because the work being done in you isn't for public consumption. It's sacred ground that few can even recognize, let alone walk upon. Lately, the connections that once felt steady may seem strained. Conversations that once flowed now feel hollow. Spaces that used to soothe you now seem to drain you. This isn't a flaw in you, and it's not a failure in them. It's a sign you've stepped beyond the resonance you once shared. Not everyone can move into the air you're about to breathe. This isn't because you've become superior. When the next level comes, it will not tolerate excess weight. It requires speed, clarity, and discipline. This is why some ties must be loosened, not as a punishment, but as preparation. It's a recalibration of your surroundings, so that nothing holds you back from the pace you're about to keep. It hurts sometimes to watch familiar faces fade into the distance. It stings to see bonds dissolve without clear reasons. And yet, there is wisdom in the way it's unfolding. You're not being abandoned, you're being aligned. The pull you feel towards something greater is stronger than the pull to stay familiar. You're learning that protecting your energy is not selfish. It's stewardship over what's sacred. Your calling can't afford to leak into spaces that can't value it. Those who can't continue with you aren't your enemies. They're simply not equipped for the altitude you're reaching. Some environments are too fragile to handle the weight of what you now carry. And if they stayed, they'd either break under the pressure or slow you to match their limits. You're discovering that peace has more permanence than approval, that purpose holds more weight than proximity, and that destiny is far more valuable than comfort. The pruning is painful, but it's proof that you're being prepared to flourish in a place they were never meant to stand. There's no arrogance in choosing solitude when the alternative is dilution. There's no cruelty in choosing distance when the alternative is compromise. This isn't a withdrawal, it's an ascent. What's leaving your life now is not being taken from you. It's being cleared away to make room for what can actually sustain you at your new level. The shedding is strategic, not spiteful. The strength you'll need ahead can't be built in the noise of too many voices. It grows in the clarity of fewer, but deeper connections. It thrives when your steps aren't weighed down by those unwilling to move forward with you. The truth is simple. Everyone can witness your beginning, but not everyone can survive your becoming. What's waiting for you requires a lighter load, a sharper focus, and a readiness to walk into rooms where only those called to the same height will recognize your presence. This is not the loss of your circle, it's the refining of your core. And the ones who remain will not just stand beside you. They will match your breath, your pace, and your vision for the climb ahead. Some departures shake the ground not because they are loud, but because they are absolute. People can stand beside greatness for years without truly recognizing it. And then one quiet removal reveals what they missed all along. That is the kind of shift you are walking toward. One that will leave those who took your presence for granted speechless. While you've been here, many have misread your stillness as passivity, your consistency as predictability, your separation as defeat. They've seen the surface, but never touched the depths. They've interacted with the container, but never valued what was inside. Yet the moment you step away, the contrast will be undeniable. The change will not be a collapse, but a lift. You'll disappear from certain settings not because you were discarded, but because the next chapter demanded it. Your absence will carry more weight than your daily presence ever could. People will find themselves remembering conversations they brushed aside, realizing the truths you spoke were seeds they never tended. Your silence will be reinterpreted as strength. Your distance will be recognized as direction. The void you leave will be felt as a presence that lingers. It's a strange truth. Many only grasp the worth of something when they no longer have access to it. This is why certain misunderstandings were allowed to happen. Your role was never meant to be obvious in real time. It was meant to be undeniable in hindsight. And when the elevation comes, it will confound logic. There will be no natural explanation, because it won't be the product of human calculation. It will carry the mark of something beyond the ordinary. Some will admit they underestimated you. Others will quietly confess they always sensed there was more. And a few will simply fall silent, because there is nothing left to say. The shift itself will speak. What's unfolding will not just change your location. It will rewrite how you are remembered. Those who thought they knew you will realize they never even touched the edges of your purpose. They saw difficulty but not discipline, delay but not design. You are not being moved to prove a point. You are being positioned to fulfill one. The exit will not be a retreat. It will be an unveiling. The moment where the layers of your calling become visible to those who once dismissed you. When it happens, some will try to circle back, to reconnect, to reclaim access. But by then, the season that allowed them close will have ended. The chapter will be sealed, and the page will have turned. There's no bitterness in this process. You're not leaving to punish anyone. You're leaving because your placement is shifting to match the weight you now carry. The recognition that didn't arrive while you were present will arrive too late, and that's exactly how it was designed. This is the way rare treasures are revealed, hidden in plain sight. Until the moment comes for them to be moved somewhere, they will be guarded, honored, and understood. You were never meant to be just visible. You were meant to be a signal. And when you are lifted, it won't be the applause that defines you. It will be the echo of your absence. An echo that will remind them, long after you've gone, that you were never ordinary, never common, never replaceable. Your story will be marked not just by what you did while you were here, but by the undeniable shift that happened the moment you were no longer within reach. That is the legacy of your removal, and it will speak for generations in ways your presence never could. They could feel the stretch your presence demanded. Your standards made their excuses look small. Your clarity made their confusion harder to ignore. You didn't even have to correct them. Your way of living became the correction, and that was the real threat. Not what you said, but what you embodied. Rather than be inspired, they tried to control. They thought if they could contain you, they could contain the pressure to rise. But greatness doesn't stay boxed in. And when you refused to dim for their convenience, they were faced with a decision: grow or retreat. They chose retreat. Now, they watch you from a distance, pretending not to notice how far you've come. But deep down, they know the truth. They know they could have been part of the rise instead of an observer. They know the version of themselves that might have emerged if they'd chosen to walk with you instead of against you. That realization doesn't fade. It sits in the background, quietly burning. You were never too much for them. They were too unwilling to expand. They didn't lack the ability, they lacked the will. And that is what cost them not just the relationship, but the alignment and opportunities your presence carried. The hardest part for them now is watching you grow without needing their acknowledgement. You are proving every day that you never needed validation to thrive. Your glow isn't louder, it's deeper. And the more they try to ignore it, the more undeniable it becomes. They used to have a front row seat to this version of you. They could have been part of the story, part of the vision, part of the elevation. Instead, they're on the outside, watching a reality they once touched but didn't respect enough to keep. Every milestone you reach now is a reminder of what they let slip away. Every new door you walk through is a door they once had the key to, and they're realizing that when they minimized you, they weren't just downplaying your value. They were cutting themselves off from the future your presence was building. What they called keeping things humble was actually insecurity in motion. What they framed as balance was fear of being overshadowed. And what they told themselves was protecting the relationship was actually protecting their ego. You didn't demand control. You didn't require sacrifice they couldn't give. All you ever brought was more stability, more vision, more alignment, more peace. And they mistook that surplus as something they needed to contain, instead of something they should have cherished. Now, the space you once filled in their life feels hollow. They can try to fill it with noise, new faces, and distractions, but the absence of your energy is louder than all of it. That silence they mocked, it's become the thunder that follows them everywhere. What they see now isn't just you shining. It's the proof that walking away wasn't your loss. It was your protection. Because if they couldn't honor your light, they were never meant to stand in its full strength. The regret they carry isn't about losing someone. It's about losing the one presence that could have elevated their life from ordinary to exceptional. And no matter how they try to rewrite the story, the truth is set. You were the blessing they couldn't celebrate. And the cost of that is a lifetime of wondering what could have been if they had only been ready.